Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to day 16 of the Fire of Grief. And I hope you like the background. Isn't it beautiful? Just arrived in Boston, and I'm here to do my little weekend priestess retreat with some amazing women. So we're right by the ocean, and this house is amazing. And so, how are you doing? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing fantastic. And as usual, before we begin, let's settle in with our little embodiment exercise. So we'll begin to exhale all the air out of our mouth, nice big sigh. And we're going to inhale, taking that arrival breath into your body, into your awareness. Then exhale with a nice deep sigh, just letting go of any tension that you might be feeling. And deep breath in, arriving in this present moment. Exhale, allow yourself to settle. And one more breath in. Inhale. And exhale out. And just taking a moment just to feel yourself, just to be present with what is. This whole entire series of grief has all been about being with what is. So I'm recording this a little bit later on the 16th because of travels. So if you're seeing this, my apologies on that, but it's all good, right? So today I wanted to really talk about women and grief. And I was thinking about this yesterday, how historically how women were supposed to show up in the grieving process. Now, when we look back historically at movies or even in our culture, there is this whole mourning period, and the woman had to wear black for a very, very long time. And for me, when I look back at that, I'm like, that black is oppressive, it's drabby, and it signaled to me that because I've experienced this loss, I could no longer be a part of life. That I have to sort of hide myself away, cloak myself away, and stay in a space that doesn't invite life. And so after the loss of my spouse, my husband, I realized that I didn't want to be called a widow. I was like, why should I have another label? I'm always going to energetically, right, be part of this union that my husband and I had. And so rather than conform to society standards that I'm a widow and this is how I ought to show up, I decided to call myself a born again goddess. Because what is happening in this process with us as women in the grieving process, we are becoming born again. Our titles have shifted and changed. We're no longer a wife. And life is now preparing us for a brand new experience, a brand new way of being as women. And for me, that is the bold act of being born again. It's a rebirth, right? We don't look at it as a rebirth when we're in the throes of grief. But as we begin to journey through grief, we see that there's a rebirth happening. So this rebirthing of who? This rebirthing of myself as a goddess. Right? This remembrance of myself. And so the idea that I have to show up in life with this sense of darkness, like to wear my grief on my sleeve and not invite life in, that's not something that I was willing to put myself through. My grief is very personal. And now, this personal journey that I've had, I'm now sharing it with everyone. So it's no longer just my grief or my journey, it's a collective journey because as human beings, we are part of this whole collective of us. We're part of this whole collective of us. And whether we realize it or not energetically, there are threads of our grief that just moves through the whole collective. And how we choose to embody that grief also ripples through the collective. Right? And so some of this that I'm bringing is brand new, because as women, how do we want to show up in life with ourselves? What do we want to embody? What do we want to experience while in the grieving process? Right? And so for a long time I couldn't stand the color black. I couldn't stand the color black. And I didn't wear it for years. And for the first time I was drawn to bold, bright colors, yellows, oranges, bright greens, colors that I've never really been drawn to. And it was almost like in the midst of this grief, there was a reckoning that was happening, a reckoning, a reclamation, an inner revolution that was happening inside of me. And I didn't have an idea or clue as to what that all meant. I just knew what I felt. I felt my sadness. I felt the grief. I felt the heartache, the heartbreak. And in the midst of all of that, I felt this colorfulness of life. And as we've talked about before in previous episodes, it's this and that, giving myself full on permission to say yes to the totality of life. Right? I mean, and why not? We deserve it. You deserve it. To have a full on experience of life. And yes, when the moment strikes us, to cry and to wail and to mourn and to do all of those things that grief embodies, but not to stay there 24/7, but to invite these other aspects of beauty of life to be our companion, and to create our own framework of who we are becoming, how we want to feel as women, not to be characterized by labels. Men, when they lose a wife, historically, they were not told to wear black, and they could move on right away and get married right away. So there were um, different things that women had to live by, different rules. Forgot the word. Different rules that women had to live by, and surprisingly, so much of that has still stayed in play, even in current times. So my invitation to you, darling, is this: you're experiencing grief. Your heart is broken. A loss has happened. Feel it. Allow it to work through you. And in each moment, you keep coming back to yourself and asking yourself, what is it that I want to feel? Because you are the creator. You're creating in every moment life. What do you want to hold? What do you want to experience? Even if it's for a fraction of a moment, I want to feel some joy. I want to experience laughter, right? It doesn't matter the length of time. It simply matters what you are choosing to embody moment to moment to moment. That's it. And this is one of the things that I learned in the grieving process, is that I can choose. That is me coming back to my own sovereign power, is knowing that I have a choice. It's knowing that in one moment I can cry, and the next moment I could laugh. And that's completely fine. Right? So back then, historically, women were considered hysterical, right? Like if we were to show any huge amounts of emotions, heaven forbid that we get down on our knees and start wailing, oh, there's something wrong with us, we're depressed. No, we're not depressed. We are doing what women do. We are feeling, and we're allowing that feeling to move through us like a rapture. So it's a short message today that I wanted to bring through. And what I want to leave you with is maybe some journaling, and ask yourself that as you're moving through this grieving process, what do you want to create for yourself? What do you want to create for yourself? I don't have my Oracle card decks here with me. So when I get back home, which I'll be traveling to Charlotte in a couple of days next week, we'll pick back with the Oracle card readings. Until then, until tomorrow, I love you. Be well, be well, be well. Sending you blessings.